Adobe Premiere Pro. If you want to learn to edit in Premiere and you don't know where to start, this video is for you. We're going to start with the basics. I'm on a Mac, but a PC is very similar. So if you're editing on a PC, it should be very simple for you to just do a little bit of Googling and figure out the hotkeys that are different or a few locations where things are that are different. So what you're going to do is open Premiere. Go down to the Finder, which is a little smiley face in the bottom left corner. And under Favorites, there should be something, or it should be Applications. Now, mine doesn't have that, so my Applications is down here, but your Applications window will probably be right here. It also may be down here. And we're going to go to Adobe Premiere Pro 2025. Any of these dialog boxes that come up, just X out of them. And you're going to go to New Project in the upper left-hand corner. Click on that blue button that says New Project. And we're going to pick a project name. It's going to be Your Great Project 1. And then we're going to pick a location for that project file to live. So the Premiere Pro file, which is all of your editing work, it's the actual file that you'll double click on to edit in. We're going to pick a spot for that to be saved. And I'm going to put it, so we're going to go down to location, click on this little down arrow, and we're going to go to choose location. I would not do in the default location because it could be hard to find. I have an external drive that I'm editing on for this, so I'm going to put it right here. And My Great Project, I'm going to click Select. So now we have the project name, the location, we're good to go. Hit the blue button, Create. All right, now first thing that's going to pop up is this Import Media window. Skip it. We don't want to do that. And this is your workspace. You've got 4 panels that should open up automatically. If somebody has used Premiere before, this workspace is completely customizable. So it could look a little different. My suggestion is to go up to, if yours does not look like this, go up to Window and Workspaces and make sure that editing is selected. And that should look similar to this. On the left-hand side, you have where this is where your media is going to be stored. It's basically a file structure. It has folders just like your computer does. And there are tabs up top here. 2 of them that are going to be used reasonably often is Effect Controls. That's where you're going to manipulate a lot of the basic options of your footage, whether it's audio or video. And Effects, that's where you can add transitions, blurs, all kinds of audio and video effects. And then you will also have, you've got metadata as well, which will give you some information on the clip that you have selected. We're not going to do that right now. So that's this panel. The next panel is Program. Once you have footage in a sequence, you will see that footage playback in your program monitor right here. So it's basically the edits that you do, you will play them and see them right here. In the bottom is your sequence or your timeline. That's where you're going to do all of your editing work. And then on the right side are some extra panels for color grading, sound, and graphics. We're not going to use that today. You've also got an audio meter here for some audio leveling. So the first thing we're going to do is do a little bit of organization. I'm going to create 3 folders, or bins as they're called in Premiere. Bin 1 I'm going to name Interview. Bin 2 I'm going to name B-roll. If you want to rename these, you can just click on the name just once. Make sure the bin is selected. You'll know it's selected if it has a blue box around it, and then click on the name, and then you can just rename it. And then the final one's going to be music. Great. Then I'm going to double click on Interview and let's import some footage. To do that, you can either go to your Finder, find where your footage is, which for me it's going to be right here in the FX9 folder, and literally drag it into the folder. Or you can go to File, Import, and then, I've already navigated there, but navigate to where that footage is and click on Import. Now, your footage is in the your folder. So let's back out. You can hit this little, I don't know what that button's called, but it's going to send you back to the folder you were just in. So now we see our interview. It has 1 item in it. It has the interview in it. And then let's import some B-roll. Double click on that. We're going to go to File, Import. And let's navigate to the B-roll folder. Import. All this nice B-roll is now imported. And then we're going to back out. All right, now let's go to music, and we're going to import our music. file. Actually, this one I'm just going to drag and drop. We're going to go, I have some music right here, drag it in there in music. You will notice for video, you're going to see a thumbnail of the actual video clip. And for music, you're just going to see this little waveform icon. All right, great. So we have our footage imported. Now we need a sequence. Now, I warn you, if you have any of these folders or bins selected and you click on new item or new bin, it's just going to put that new bin. You're going to be like, where'd that bin go? Well, it went into the music folder because that folder was selected. So if you're creating a new bin or putting a new item in here, make sure that none of these are selected. Just click off into the blank void so that no folder is selected. We need to create a sequence, which is your timeline, which is where you're going to do all of your editing. You can do this one of two ways. You can click and drag the interview, which is usually what I do, and it's just going to copy the settings of the video file that you drag onto the timeline or into the sequence. Now, sometimes you might not want to do that. For example, maybe you filmed in 4K and you want to edit in just standard HD, so you would set your timeline to 1080. But you know, usually I would still set the timeline to 4K or the sequence to 4K and then export as HD. But either way, so you can drag and drop and create a timeline, or I'm going to undo that and delete this timeline or delete that sequence. And we are going to click on this new item button. We're going to go to sequence. We're going to create a new sequence and we're going to match this to the settings that we want to have. This footage is 1080 23976, so that's great. That's what I want to edit in and sequence. So let's type it's a terrible name, but whatever. Awesome edit sequence. And now we see this is populated. We have video lines and audio lines, or audio tracks and video tracks. All of the video tracks are labeled V1, V2, V3. Audio tracks are labeled A1, A2, A3, and so on. You can add more audio and video tracks simply by right-clicking in the blank space and go to Add Tracks. Let's do a simple edit. We're going to start with our interview, usually with a documentary or a business promo or corporate video. We're going to build it with sound bites. So let's grab the interview and drag it down onto our timeline. Great. There we go. Looks wonderful. See, now we see it in our preview window, and we can use the space bar to play the clip. Spacebar is play and stop, and that's super useful. Also, if you need to zoom in on your sequence, just use the plus and minus keys on your keyboard, and it will allow you to make some more precise edits. One of the things you usually want to do before you go and slice up your interview is do any color grading that you're going to do in a basic audio mix. That's simply because once you chop up this timeline, or this piece of video, now you have to do all of that work, color correction, audio leveling to each individual clip rather than just one. Oh, and if anything doesn't work right, if you press a button, it's not doing what you think it should do, usually it's because you don't have whatever window selected. Like I just tried to zoom in and it zoomed in up here because I clicked on the program window. But so we're going to click on the sequence, we're going to zoom in. This audio is a little low, so we're going to boost it. You can see. They tried to start that, and when they started it, I want to boost that to maybe so where it's the peaks are kind of up here around -6. So one way to do that is to select your clip in the timeline. Then we're going to go up to Effect Controls. Remember how I said Effect Controls is where we manipulate most of the basic things about the audio and the video for your clips. And then we're going to scroll down to Volume and Level, and I'm going to increase this by 10 and hit Return or Enter. There we go. Let's see how that looks.
40 to 50, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. So I was just...
I'm happy with that. Now I'll probably have to do a little bit of audio leveling a little bit later because, you know, he's going to get louder and softer just depending on, you know, what he's talking about. But that's a basic audio level that's going to help me out further down the road because I won't have to adjust things as much. So now we're ready to do some basic cuts. There are two primary tools that you're going to use to do that. One on the left side here is the selection tool. The hotkey for that is V, as you can see right there. And the razor blade tool, and the hotkey for that on your keyboard is C. So you're going to be using those two keys a lot, just bouncing back and forth between the selection tool so you can move stuff, so you can change its position, and the razor blade tool so you can make cuts in your video. So let's pick a little soundbite. This first soundbite's kind of nice.
Why I started really training like pros is one, I wanted to always, this was always something that I would love. Like after I got done playing, I was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Okay, we're going to use that, but I don't need all this stuff at the beginning, obviously.
So
I don't need the so, I don't need this blank space here where he's not talking. So we're going to come right up there, maybe zoom in a hair, make a cut, and then here's the end of the soundbite. And we're going to make a cut there. Great, let's pick one more. Okay, we'll use that one. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but that's fine. We'll start it here. We'll make a cut there.
And so Train Like Pros was like, I'm a firm believer in that. You have to do this stuff every day.
And we're going to make a cut. Nah, not there. I'm sorry. Right there. Let's zoom in. I feel like that was, no, that's good. And while I'm thinking about it, on your timeline, things act as a little bit of a magnet, and it's not doing that right now. So I think snapping is not on. So if you go up to sequence, go down to snap in timeline, make sure that is checked. That's going to help you out a lot so that when things get really close to each other, they just kind of snap, which makes things butt up really nicely to each other and you don't end up with gaps or accidentally messing up some footage by scooting other footage over top of it. It's just really nice. And then we're going to delete all the excess. So I have two clips that or two little sound bites I've decided I want to use in my edit. I'm going to select this first area that, is just dead air. I don't need to use it. I'm going to hit the delete key. And one cool thing about Premiere is you can delete gaps in your timeline, like sections where there's nothing. I can select this section where there's nothing in the timeline and delete it, and all my footage is going to move left. Same thing, we don't want all this, and we don't want all this, but I don't need all this gap, and I don't want to necessarily grab it and drag it all the way over there. I could, or I can just do this. So now we have our little edit. Now let's import some B-roll. So we've done our edit. We need to cover these edits and maybe make a little intro. I'm actually going to drag this stuff off of the front just a hair so it doesn't start with that soundbite. We're going to put a little B-roll up here. Let's go pick some B-roll. So we're going to back out of our interview, and I put that in the wrong place. I do not want that there. Copy and paste that sequence here, because really I shouldn't have put that. So I copied and pasted that sequence here. I shouldn't have put that sequence in the interview folder. It really doesn't matter. It's just cleaner and more organized if it's not in with the interview footage. So there are two ways that we can add some B-roll onto our timeline, and that is we can double click, and this is our preview monitor essentially, so we can see the raw clips and pick a spot that we like. To get it onto your timeline, you're going to click and drag either on the just the image here, but that's going to drag video and audio. We just want video, so you can drag video only on that little film strip. Now this is going to drag the entire clip, and then you can use hit C and use your razor blade tool to slice it up to the parts that you want. Another way to do this, and this is the way I recommend, is to grab your little playhead here and pick a nice little spot. And we're going to click this little mark in button, and then we're going to pick where we want the footage to end and the mark out button. Now, when I drag it down to the timeline, it's only going to drag this little part. Great. That's actually a little much, but that's fine. We can trim it further in a minute. This one. Mark in, mark out, put down here. That's a better length. And we'll pick two more pieces. Maybe right here. Just gonna back that up a little bit. Oh, that's really short. Well, we'll figure something out. And then one more. This. We'll just do some random shot of a bucket of baseballs. Okay, great. So we have some, let's zoom in. We have some B-roll. Let's trim this down a lot. We don't need that much of that. Now, we can cover up these edits with this B-roll. And you're going to drag the B-roll on top of your interview. So when you put video on top of other video, like the interview was on V1, which is the lowest video track, it's going to cover it up, which is great because that's how we do. We put B-roll in there and cover up edits and make our footage look awesome. I need one more piece of B-roll, maybe this one, and on the logo of Train Like Pros.
Do this stuff every day.
That's great. So let's look at our edit. If you want to full screen your video, hit Control tilde. It's really nice to do that if you're previewing an edit or some work you've done. You can just see it bigger.
Why I started really Train Like Pros is one, I wanted to always, this was always something that I love. Like after I got done playing, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And so Train Like Pros was like, I'm a firm believer in that. You have to do this stuff every day.
Great. And now it's time to add some music. Did we put music in that folder? I think we did. Yeah. So let's add our music. We're going to do this. I'm just going to pick a spot in the music. We're doing the same thing with the music as we did with the B-roll. You can obviously drag the whole track down, which is going to be much longer than this 15 seconds, or I'm going to pick a portion of it. And I'm actually going to grab the drag audio only because obviously this is music. And then I'm going to shrink it. And if you want to expand or shrink a clip on the timeline, you just go to the edge of it and you'll see this little red bracket with an arrow, and you can make it bigger or smaller as long as there's video there to do that with. Now, we've got our music, we've got our interview audio, we've got our interview video, and we've got our B-roll. Let's play it and see what happens.
Why I started really Train Like Pros is
So obviously, that is way too loud. So let's go select our music. We're going to go up to Effect Controls. We're going to go down to Volume, and we're going to put -30. We're going to make it really quiet because we got to be able to hear our interview.
Why I started really Train Like Pros is one, I wanted to always, this was always something that I love. Like after I got done playing, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And so Train Like Pros was like, I'm a firm believer in that. You have to do this stuff every day.
That's great. So we've got a nice little edit there. Now that your edit is done, you need to export. One quick thing before we do that. If your computer is not as fast and it's having trouble playing back footage smoothly, you can always go up here to your program window, right here by the settings button, which is a little wrench, and change the resolution to 1/2 or 1/4. And if you're in 4K, you can do like 1/8 and I guess 1/16 as well. And if you change that, it's not going to look as good in the program window, but it'll play back a lot more smoothly. Yeah, see, it's kind of
something that I love.
blurry. It's not going to export that way. You haven't damaged the video in any way. It's just playing back a lower resolution version and should be less taxing on your system. And one more thing, after I already did one more thing, if you want to do a quick transition, like a dissolve in or a fade in, go to the edge of your clip, right click, and hit Apply Default Transition. It's going to put a nice little fade out. And you can change the length of that fade out just by clicking and dragging. So we're going to do that with both video tracks and the audio tracks as well. And you need to make sure that when you do that, that little red bracket with the arrow is highlighted before you right click. Now we're going to export because obviously we've made our edit and we need to make it into a video file. So we're going to go up to the top, click on Export. And we're going to change some settings. You're going to change the name to whatever you want the file name to be. I'm going to leave it as the project name or the sequence name. And then we're going to pick a location. This is defaulted to the drive which the footage is on. And you'll notice on this drive, our project file is saved on this drive, where we told it to be saved earlier. So if you want to go back to this, maybe you want to edit it some more later, and you've closed Premiere, you just navigate to that location and double click on this file. There's also an autosave folder so that if Premiere crashes, which it will from time to time, you can hopefully recover most of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on New Folder, and I'm going to create an export folder. That is not a requirement. I think it's nice and tidy to have an export folder where all of your exports go. And I put a 1 at the end. I always like to have a 1 at the end so that I know which export it is. Often you'll export and then you'll need to make an adjustment. So if I did another export where I changed the edit a little bit, it would become Awesome Editing Sequence 2. File format MP4, that is a great format to save in. H.264 is great. It's a nice and easy to play format. And so we're going to leave it at 1080p. You can also change it to match the source, which is going to export to whatever your footage or your timeline So we're going to leave it at 1080p HD. You would just select whatever resolution you want to export in. Now, one thing, we're going to go back to our edit. Sometimes you might have some B-roll or something that you hadn't decided on, or you've got some extra interview sound bites that you were going to use, and you just kind of pushed them off further down the timeline. If you go to your export tab and you just click export, it's going to export the entire timeline and all of this extraneous stuff because it doesn't know what you want to export and what you don't. We have to tell it exactly what part to export. We do that by going to the very end of your edit. You're going to go up to markers and go and mark out. So now our sequence has an in, and if this was say down here somewhere, you would have to mark in and mark out. But since we're at the beginning of our timeline, that's where our edit starts, we can just mark out. So the in starts at the beginning of the timeline automatically, and the out is at the end of our edit. Now we're going to go back to export, and we're going to change the range, not to entire source because that would export the entire sequence. I'm going to change it to source in and out. And then we're going to click export, and we're going to wait. And then this blue box should pop up when the export is finished, and then you can navigate to your export folder, and there's your awesome edit.
Why I started really training like pros is, one, I wanted to always...
That's it. We're going to go File, Saved, save your progress, quit Premiere. If you ever need to go back to it, the project file is right there. You just double click on it and continue working. So that's a real basic introduction to Premiere. And if you have any questions, comment below.